Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Aaron2420 back at it again with the weekly transactions. Now, we have a decent amount of weekly transactions to cover this week, so let's get right into them. First up, we got your boy MV. GG, it's MV, coach of the San Diego Chargers, and he is dropping Omastar for Kabutops. Now, he has a decent amount of reasons why, and they only kind of make sense for his team, to be honest, because one of the things that he mentions is that he drafted Omastar mainly for the rain, and with Swift Swim, you can't really outspeed many Choice Scarf users in the rain, whereas with Kabutops, you can outspeed a decent amount of Choice Scarf users, because plus your speed, that's outspeeding pretty much any viable Choice Scarf user MV's gonna have to fight. So another reason is because if he doesn't bring the rain, it gives him hazard removal in the form of Rapid Spin, whereas Empoleon and Pelipper only can give him defog, so this means that he doesn't need to fail to keep hazards up on his side because he defogs them away, and he thinks that this will be very crucial because as seen in matches like week 1, if he can't keep hazards up, then it's gonna be very hard for him to actually pull through in matches. So I think overall this is a great trade. I personally prefer Kabutops in every way because in my opinion there are very few physical rain sweepers that really work, especially in the format. So I think it's a great job for MV. I feel like it's gonna do him wonders, especially with the fact that he also gets priority in Aqua Jet. So again, if he's not running rain, it's another way to just revenge kill stuff. So great job MV with that. Hopefully it pulls through for you, man. Next up though, we got Gym Leader Geo. Coach of the San Francisco Giants is going to be dropping Aerodactyl for Rhyperior. Now the main reason that Geo does this is because he feels that electric types have been really giving him a hard time these past few weeks. It's been really hard for him to actually take them out, and as you can see in the past 2 weeks, it's definitely a major concern of his, and it's a very valid one at that. So another reason that he's dropping it is because it gives him a wall breaker and a tank, whereas Aerodactyl provided neither of these. So all that Aerodactyl gave him was a good speed tier and hazards that Rhyperior can at least get the hazards. Maybe not the speed tier, but he has other things that are pretty fast in his team. For example, Salamence, decent mon. I mean, it's only base 100, but it has setup options, so at least you can get it above that base 100. It has decent speed in Geo's team. Also ways to fix the base 100 problem for Salamence at least. So Aerodactyl being dropped isn't a huge hit to Geo's speed, and he feels like that it'll be better on hyper offense, which he has had difficulty bringing. So I think it's a very good point with the Rhyperior being much better than Aerodactyl, especially for the fact that you're picking it up so that way then electric types don't ruin you. So hopefully it pulls through for you, Geo. Next up, we got Cooper, coach of the Utah Jasmines, and he's dropping Darmanitan for Golbat and Comfey for Lantern. Now one of the things he wants to mention is that Golbat can actually take a Choice Band and Woodhammer, which is something he fears greatly against his other matches, and it can also get rid of hazards, something that Darmanitan could not. Even though it's so weak to hazards, it can at least clear them with defog. And also Comfey for Lantern just makes more sense because Comfey can't really do too much, and Lantern can take a Bolt Beam, which is something that Coop said that he had decent problems with. Also, looking ahead, he said he couldn't really find any matches that Darmanitan would be coming over Swellow in terms of beating through people's teams, and with his speed tiers, he felt that Darmanitan being Scarfed is something that he'd really need to do to actually get it over that base 100 mark, whereas Golbat can be used to wall break with Super Fang, and it can also Toxic and Taunt, and has a decent speed tier. Being able to clear hazards is great for him because he has serious issue with hazard removal on his team. Comfey, he said he dropped because he picked it up with the Cleric due to the priority healing, but he said that he doesn't really see many matches at all that it would really be useful for, especially the Crobat adding a Bolt Beam weakness. So even though it can take non-stab ones very easily, he wants to get Lantern who can actually take Bolt Beam while still actually being a good Cleric for his team, giving him options like Heal Bell. And also Volt Turn is really nice with Lantern in the sense that it can Volt Switch out, and it can even come in on other people's Volt Switches because of the Volt Absorb ability. He mentions also that he has several options for Ground and Grass, which are its weaknesses, so he thinks that it'll be very easy to patch around, especially with the fact that Golbat now only gives him another answer for ground types anyway. And he says he has plenty of options for Dark type moves, mainly Knockoff, and the only other thing on his team that even fears Knockoff is Reguniclus. So he thinks that picking up Golbat won't be too big of an issue. I think that this is a great trade. I've faced several Golbats in leagues and I hate facing them. So already I'm with you on that, especially for your playstyle. Coop is going to be phenomenal mon. Cleric using, I'm not too familiar with Clerics just because I don't really use many besides Clefable. But I have seen Lantern put in work, so I know that it's at least a very decent mon. Comfey though was kind of a garbage pick, no offense. But I feel like it'll put in work for you. Lantern's a very bulky mon, and it's going to do wonders on your team. Next up, we got Chimpact, coach of the Philadelphia Scissors, and he is dropping Claydol and Rotom Mo for Gligar and Cofagrigus. Now, he kind of kept it pretty precise, so I'm just going to go quick with chimps. He said that he was never going to bring him, which, in my opinion, played all. I could see Rotomo maybe one match, but I don't know. Obviously, I didn't analyze your matches, so, you know, that's on you. But I don't really see too much use for Rotomo anyway in your team anyway. I feel like that you have plenty of other options, and so I agree with you on that one. And he says that Cafagus is one of his favorite mons, so obviously, you know, it makes sense. You gotta still enjoy what you're using. So also, it's a very nice wall on your team, so that's really nice. And Gligar, he says, can set up rocks and defog them away, which is something that he really likes. Whereas Claydol can set up rocks and rapid spin them away, which is something that he's pretty much just replacing 1-for-1 at that point. Only Gligar can actually have more use than just getting knocked off and die, because Gligar can take hits fairly well, especially with the Eviolite. Its typing is a really nice typing, and I think that it'll work really well on Chimp's team. It actually gives him a viable rock setter and also a viable way of clearing hazards besides Claydol. So, you know, I think it's gonna do wonders for Chimp. Not really death fodder, unlike Claydol, which in my opinion, just like a lot of the other analysts, is a garbage mon, especially in a non-tiered format. Finally, we got Steve, coach of your Milwaukee Sawsbucks, and Steve is dropping Mudsdale for Swampert. Now, he feels that Swampert has a lot more options in offense, which is very obvious considering you can actually run it both physical and special, and has better coverage of Mudsdale in both stats. It gets Roar, so that way you could phase out opponents, especially for setup using. So he doesn't have to rely on necessarily just having his bulky mons take hits. He can roar them out with Swampert. He gives him a bulky rocker as well, something that Mudsdale surprisingly doesn't get. I don't get why it doesn't get Stealth Rock. It really bothers me, but at least he gets the Stealth Rock option with Swampert. So now he also has better offensive typing and a rocker, more reliable ground type than Mudsdale in general. And he says that since it's a water type, he can bring it without having to bring Starmie and Cress, which are both weak to dark, which only encourages opponents to use knockoff more, especially against Cress, where they're going to be getting rid of leftovers anyway. So having Swampert here, I feel like it's going to save Steve a lot, especially because the grass typing, he has decent answers for it on his team. So I'm not too worried about the 4x weakness. And even then, it's only going to encourage people to bring hidden powers, which with Kartana, it's going to kind of split up what people are bringing versus HP grass and HP fire. So I'm hoping it works well for you, Steve. I believe in you. Milwaukee Sawsbucks have already proved to me that they can pull through in tough matches. So let's wait and see what Swampert does for you. But that is going to be it for this week's weekly transactions. If you guys enjoyed, make sure to leave a like down below. Tell me what you guys think of these trades, and also if there are any trades that you still haven't seen yet that you're hoping your coaches make. And I'm going to get the heck out of here. Peace out.